Hi, and welcome to the June 2022 Lone Star Dowsers meeting. I'm Mary Lindsay Wilson, and tonight we have a special guest, Joey Korn. Joey has a pretty long history of dowsing and being on a spiritual path, and I'm going to let him introduce him. I'm going to let him give his introduction tonight. But we're in for a treat because he's got a really brand new, incredible blessing and process that he's going to share with us tonight. So welcome, Joey.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored. I have spoken for the Lone Star Dowsers many times in the past. I used to teach in Houston every other year. And whenever I taught, your group was wanting me to come speak for them. So we've been supporters of each other for a long time. But as I was saying, I no longer travel at all to teach because my remote space clearing work is my full-time work now. And that's mainly because of an energy that I'm going to be talking about that I discovered 15 years ago that I call interference energy. Sometimes how you can build something up so much that then you get your expectations up too high. And then when it comes about, you realize that you get sort of disappointed. Everybody has that feeling, right? From time to time. I can't build what I'm going to share it with you what I'm sharing it with you up too high, because what I'm going to share with you has the potential to transform the space clearing movement, especially in the dowsing world. It has the ability, the potential to greatly increase the interest of dowsing and others, and the potential to help, and you might say heal, millions and millions of people around the world, even if they have no interest in dowsing and metaphysics or anything like that. I discovered an energy. First of all, I'll tell you how I got started.
Yeah, how'd you get started in dowsing?
I've been interested in dowsing since I was a young child, seeing it on TV on old westerns and the Virginian. A few years ago, I saw that episode of the Virginian. Somebody called my attention to it, that it was on a rerun. And interesting, the person that was dowsing was the guy, I forget his name, that later played. He wasn't even a regular. He later played the $1 Million Man, Steve. Who was that?
Yeah, I know who you're talking
about. He
was
the dowser, and you could tell that he couldn't douse. He wasn't dowsing because he wasn't holding the fork stick right at all. And it seems like in California, when they made that movie, they could have found a dowser to teach him to do it. But anyway, I tried several times, and I had willow tree. I saw several things on TV saying you need to use a willow branch, and I had a willow tree in the backyard. I cut branches off of it several times. It never worked. Later, I learned that I was just holding the stick wrong. It's an odd way you have to hold a Y rod with your palms up and your thumb out like this, and you're putting pressure on the two parts of the Y, and it's hard to do that and hold it steady. But what really, my spiritual path really started when I was 21. I had an out of body experience that was was really terrifying. And I didn't understand I had no interest in metaphysics. I was interested in dowsing, but I had no interest. I thought all this stuff was woo-woo stuff, all this mystical, metaphysical stuff. And that changed my life forever, because when I came back to my body and I was floating outside of my body, now I didn't die. It wasn't a near-death experience. It was an out-of-body experience. But my body was no longer animated. My soul was my soul was no longer animating my body. And I knew that when I die, I won't die. When my body dies, I won't die. And And so many things good happened to me that night before the terrifying part. It was just, I came back with a knowledge, with a knowing. Number one, God is. Whatever God is, God is. And it mattered how I lived my life. And I knew that I had created all the diseases that I had brought into my life. And with my incorrect relationship with God, incorrect relationship with others, and with self. And I knew I needed to heal those relationships with others and heal myself with love. And I began doing it. But I also came back from that journey, you might call it, with an unquenchable thirst to learn more about light, energy, what life is all about, what's going on energetically behind the scenes in life. And I just became a passionate seeker from that time on. And now I've been doing teaching dowsing and offering dowsing space clearing services for full time for 25 years. And I've been doing this remote dowsing work as my full-time work now for about 7 years, because it's grown so much because of the kind of this energy that I'm going to be talking to you about, what I call interference energy. That's what really made my work grow, because this energy, when I discovered it, if you want to, I really think I just was shown it. All my work, I've been guided by visions and revelations all my life. And I know I have inner guides and teachers. We all do. I just know I have them, and I seek their guidance, and I'm always looking for it, asking for it, and I get it. And they're the ones that taught me how to do everything that I do with my dowsing. And because nobody in the physical world taught me this stuff. But going back to 86, I was already by that time very interested and had studied much about metaphysics and other kind of, teacher student kind of things, master disciple, Yogananda, Castaneda, and Don Juan. I've read many of the Edgar Casey books. So I had already studied a lot of stuff. But I still hadn't learned to douse. And our septic tank stopped up at our family lake house, and two professionals in the sewer repair industry couldn't find my septic tank. And they had a rod, but it wasn't a dowsing rod. It was a T-handle rod that they were poking in the ground, hoping to get a knock on the lid to the septic tank. But they couldn't find it after 2 hours of looking for it. So I called the local. I looked up. I figured the government's got to know where it is. I looked up in the government services water and sewer department, and they said, and the guy answered and said, "Oh no, we don't. We only work with communities, sewer systems and water systems, not individuals." But he said, "Tell me how to get to your house, and I'll come out there and I'll find that septic tank for you," very confidently. Within a half an hour, he pulled down the driveway, and he was your typical, what you might imagine as the old time dowser, and country bumpkin kind of guy, very nice, opened up his big toolbox in the back of his pickup truck, pulled out a pair of bent up welding rods. And he started walking, didn't say a word. He just started walking down the side of my house. And I thought, wow, he's dowsing. And he got to the end of the house, nothing happened. He turned at the end of the house. All of a sudden, the rods, in a few feet, the rods opened up and it made a straight line. And he says, "I'll have that septic tank for you in just a minute." He walked away from the house right where he got that reaction until he got another reaction. And there it was. I said, "No way. Look at all the holes." The other guys thought it was here too. They've been trying all around here. They didn't dig though. He went and got his shovel and started digging. And because of years of erosion, the septic tank was just significantly deeper than the other guys had thought. He found the septic tank in 2 minutes when these other guys looked for 2 hours. They were professionals and they couldn't find it. And so he taught me to douse, and I've been a passionate dowser ever since. And that's something I used to say, if you want to be a good dowser, you got to practice, practice, practice. But really, lately, I realized, you know what? I took piano for 6 years. I was forced to practice by my parents. I practice. I can barely play chopsticks right now. I didn't learn. What you have to be is a passionate dowser that really wants to discover things. And that's what people don't realize. Dowsers don't even realize. Dowsing is not just a way to find a water well, a place to dig a water, find lost, drill a well, or find minerals or oil. It's not just a way to find lost object or answer, or use a pendulum and answer questions, or use a chart to determine stuff. Dowsing is way more than that. We live in a world of energy. We are energy beings living in an ocean or a universe of energy. And these energies are, we're thriving on, or not thriving on these energies. And these energies are here to support all of life. And with this little pair of tools, this is what I call my Korn signature portable dowsing rods. I'll put them up on the screen if you can see them. By the way, am I big to everybody, or is
you and I are sharing screen, the two of us. You're big.
Oh, I'm in the wrong.
You're big. Do you need to share the screen?
No, what I like to do is see everybody, but I just want to make sure everybody sees me better.
They're all across the top.
I want to see the gallery. I can't even read it.
So click up the little on the top right hand side. It'll say view.
Oh, view. There you are. There you are. Gallery. Okay. Now I see everybody. Hello, everybody. Okay. Okay. So we live in this universal event, this world of energy, this universe of energy. And these are like sacred tools. And dowsing is a sacred process that we can use to explore this unexplored world. Most dowsers learn from some other dowser certain things, certain methods or whatever to do certain things. And they do that from that point on. And they accept whatever their teacher or their mentor or whoever they believe in, what they say, when I was much a loner in the dowsing world. I'm from a small town in Georgia, a small city in Georgia, Augusta, Georgia, this is not the spiritual Mecca of the world, and of the area even. And there were no dowsers anybody that knew how to douse, they learned from me. They were my friends and family that I forced to learn how to do it, because whenever I learn something, I have to share it. And these energies that I was talking about, they're like keys to the mysteries of life. And we all have these keys, and we all have the ability to explore these keys and work with them. And this little it could just be two pairs of coat hangers, a pair of coat hangers that you bend and make into an L shape. It could be any kind of wire that you bend into an L shape, and I like to use two, and I like them to open for most of the energies that I look for and cross for others. But early on in my work, I was very much interested in the dowsing out in the world, in nature, and going to sacred places in the world. So I've taught, for example, several times in England, and people took me on tours they took me to sacred places, and I would douse those places. I've been to to Stonehenge several times. I've been to many of the stone circles around England. I've been to the crop circles a few times in that area, Wiltshire. But now what I'm more interested in, I'm not interested in that anymore at all. I'm interested in dowsing in homes, because that is the energy that's affecting us day in, day out, whether we know it or not. And it's really not the energies of the homes. Everybody calls it space clearing or house clearing, as most people do, but it's really us. You see, the energies, if the energies of the house, I was taught that the energies, the earth energies and the other energies are separate and distinct from us, that we need to not only balance those energies, but we need to balance our energies or clear our energies, but it's all us. The energies of our homes are reflections and extensions of the energies within us, within each of us, and everybody that lives in our home and everybody that's energetically connected to our home through our relations with close friends and family. And we each have what I call a human energy pattern. And we're going to be talking more about that later, but we each have a human energy pattern. You might call it the spiritual body, where this is the physical body, or the light body. And those of who have heard me speak before know about this. I was shown the human energy pattern even before I started teaching, shortly before I started teaching. It's part of what put me on the path of teaching, because when I started finding a pattern of energies around beds that was the same around every bed I checked in my family, and then I asked my friends if I could douse around their beds, and I asked my extended family members if I could douse around their beds. This was back in 96. And that I found, and I'm going to be talking much more about that. I got a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to share with you about that. But that I found this energy pattern back in 96. By 97, I was teaching full time. And that one of the very first things I found that I knew was new to the dowsing world is now still central to my work. I base everything on the energy pattern, and I look for imbalances in the energy pattern, which we're going to discuss, and I look for the causes of the imbalances. And I'm going to be talking to you tonight. The main reason to share with what I'm sharing, and I've only shared this with a few groups, and I'm not going to share any more for a while until I'm going to have a group session with all my clients and that I've had in the past, and my present clients, and all the people that have attended our retreats. And and Molly, if I work with you. If you have never get on my mailing list, because I'm gonna be having another Zoom session that it's going to be much larger. It's going to be just for my clients and my clients and people that have attended retreats. I didn't keep up. I don't have a list of all the people that have attended workshops, but you're probably on my list if you haven't changed your email address. And I only send out one or two, maybe two emails a year in the past few years. Okay, let's go back. 15 years ago, in my remote work, I found this energy that I'd never found before, never heard of before. There were a lot of energy problems that the people were experiencing in the home, and physical problems. And it happened to be the first few clients, it all happened to be paranormal activity and other problems. And I found this energy, most of the energies I work with run in horizontal lines, which is why I use rods, because I like my rods to open and point in opposite directions to show me the alignment of those horizontal lines. And but I found an energy that douses detrimental. The way I was asking for to show me the cause of these energy problems that the clients are experiencing, and my client was experiencing, and I found what I called an energy spot at first. And this energy spot was, I didn't know what it was. I could douse around it in a tight little circle and I wouldn't get a reaction to detrimental energy, but I could go straight into it and I would. In a short time, in this first session, I figured out how to remove this energy. I basically turned it over to God and to the divine and to nature to do whatever is appropriate with that energy to bring healing and balance to the complete beings of all who are affected by the energy. And it disappeared. And all the energies of the home came into balance. It went to normal. And I had been dowsing quite a while by that time, and I knew what normal was, or I thought I really knew. And I know much more now. But the first few clients that I found it with, that I did that with, got such relief that my work just started ballooning. And but I call this energy interference energy. And I call it that because it interferes in every aspect of our lives. Interference energy is something that we attract into our lives. Now, there's two basic ways to do it, to attract it. One is attracting it directly. You might call it the primary way, attracting it directly because as we enter intense negative states of mind and emotion in response to difficult, especially traumatic events in our lives. And then what happens, I like to say, we open a crack between the worlds, and energies in the next dimension, what some come to call the astral plane, connect directly to us. And once that happens, it causes our human energy pattern that I'm going to be talking about to be totally out of balance or discordant, the whole thing out into the matrix. And I'm going to give you a pictorial of it, several pictorials of it. And then it will set up in the home in certain places as vertical columns of vertical columns of energy. I like you to be able to envision it, even though this is invisible energy. It's about a foot in diameter, and it'll set up just inside a bathroom door, right at a bathroom sink, or right at a toilet bowl, at the toilet bowl. It'll be in two different bathrooms and set up in two different places. It'll simultaneously cause all the natural energies in the home to be detrimental or out of balance. Dowsers call them the Hartman and Curry grid lines, if you've ever heard of that. They think many people think they're all harmful to us, and we need to avoid them or block them or divert them. All the natural energies, the natural energies, the energies of nature are not here to harm us. They're here to help us, to support us. Doesn't every other spiritual teaching tell us that the earth is here to help us? Nature is here to help us, not harm us. But there's this other teaching going on in the dowsing world that's called geopathic stress. And in other words, energies in the earth that can cause that are related to illness and can cause illness and other mental and emotional problems, relationship problems, financial problems. All these things are blamed on the energies. But the energies aren't, those Hartman and Curry grid lines are not the problem. If they're detrimental, there's a cause. They are a symptom, not the cause. So dowsers have begun understanding a little bit about this, the ones that are into space clearing, and they find these energies, they learn to block them and divert them, but that's not, I would like to get to the cause of things. I'm always looking for the cause. Interference energy is the primary cause. Now, so I already told you the first way we attract it. Oh, and by the way, the Hartman and Curry grid lines, I find them differently than others, but I call them checkerboard and diagonal grid lines. Then, if you can imagine a checkerboard grid with all the lines about 6 feet apart throughout your home, that's what I call the checkerboard grid. So even if that's not the heartbeat, it's there in everybody's home. Then there's a diagonal grid that's also about 6 feet apart that intersects all the intersections of the checkerboard grid. So this whole matrix, this grid, when interference energy is in the home, the entire thing becomes detrimental. All those lines throughout your home become detrimental. It will also cause everybody else in the home to have intense imbalances or significant imbalances in their energy pattern, but not totally out of balance unless you have attracted it yourself. There's a second way of attracting it. And up until COVID, this was the first way was the most common way. Up until COVID, I was already finding interference energy with practically every single client. It's the most common cause of energy problems in homes. By the way, there's an article on my website at Dowsers.com. My address is right up there under my as my name. I put my address there so you'd have it, Joey@Dowsers.com. There's an article that I'd love everyone to read if you want to learn about all this. It's called Things That Go Bump in the Night, because for some people, I'd say about 40% of the time, it causes some kind of paranormal activity. But now I want to go back to the second way you attract it, which used to be the secondary, the less common way to attract it. You can catch it from others like a virus. If somebody is imprinted in your home with interference energy, or you are imprinted energetically connected somewhere else where others have interference energy, you can catch it from them like a virus. That was no longer as common, before COVID, that wasn't as common as it is now. Neither was interference energy. I believe interference energy has been around mankind since the beginning of mankind having free will. You might say since the beginning of time, since the beginning of mankind having free will to be negative. And it's been like it's grown into a silent pandemic, because I call it silent because nobody knows about it unless they've heard about it from me. When I remove interference energy from people in a home and other places they're energetically connected or imprinted, and I'll talk about that too, it changes everything. And so now, since COVID, what has been happening in the world? The world governments around the world have been shutting down governments, shutting down businesses, shutting down schools, shutting down churches, making us stay in our homes, making us fear. We're just always led to fear. This energy, am I going to lose my job? Am I going to lose my business? Am I going to lose my home? Am I going to lose my family members? Am I going to lose my own life? So you can imagine that many more people are attracting interference energy. And I mentioned a couple of times energetically connected somewhere else or somebody connected to your home. You leave a living imprint of your energy pattern that I consider to be your energy body or your light body. You leave it for some period of time wherever you lie down on a physical structure raised off the floor like a bed. So you're always imprinted in your own home around your bed and other places, but you're also imprinted anywhere you've laid down in the past few weeks or months. For example, if any hotel, B&B, anything like that where you have stayed, if in the last few months, you're likely still imprinted there. So are many other people, and so you can imagine that there's likely interference energy that somebody has left there. And those patterns that we leave aren't like memories that we of the time when we left it. They're directly connected to us. The energies where we leave our energy patterns are the energies in those places are affecting us, and we are affecting the energies anywhere we've left our energy patterns. So it used to be, before COVID, the most common way to attract it was through again, intense negative reactions to our traumatic and difficult events in life. Before COVID, I came up with what I call my 3-step pattern removal and home blessing process, because I told people, I can't teach you to remove this energy on your own. I haven't been successful in doing that up until last year, which that's what I'm here. You're here to learn. But I said, most of the times, interference energy is not connected directly to a family member. Most of the time it's connected to somebody that's imprinted in the home or somewhere else that we are imprinted, so it's still infecting us. And saying the pattern removal blessing, which would remove other people's energy patterns from your home, can solve most of those problems, but it doesn't remove the interference energy from the people that have attracted it. Now, so for 14 years, I only knew one way to remove this energy. And I know where it sets up in bathrooms. I do almost all my work remotely now. So it will set up in the same bathrooms, in the same places, in the same home, even if it's connected to different people. And I do my remote work different from probably anybody else in the world, because what I do is I do all my energy work with the blessing process. And I say a blessing, and I get my client's name. I only want to know my client's name and address, the one that's going to be on the phone with me. I don't need to know who their family members are, if they have family members. All that comes out. All that appears in my home. So I create an energetic connection through the address and my client's name. I create an energetic connection to the home and connecting their home to my home. And I connect their energy pattern to a bed in my home. And I say a blessing to connect all the energies of the remote home to the energies in my home. And then I'm able to explore my home as if I were in the remote home. And I can tell, I've learned that where other people's energy patterns show up, a partner or a spouse will show up in the same bedroom around a different piece of furniture around my dresser in my bedroom if I put my client's pattern around my bed. The guests, I have 3 guest bedrooms in that part of the house. And I've learned what it means when people energy patterns show up around those beds. They're almost always family members, whether they're immediate family members or extended family members. And so people think I'm doing a reading because I can tell them so much about what's going on in their lives. But it's not from intuitive stuff, even though all this was given to me intuitively. I'm not doing a psychic reading or intuitive reading. I'm using ration and logic because my inner guides and teachers have taught me how to do this every step of the way. Now, as I was saying, what happens? I used to call this energy, I first started calling it entity energy. And when I finally published the revised edition of my book and added 5 more chapters, if any of you have my old book that was stapled, in 2013, I revised it. The first 2 parts of it are an improved version of my old book. And the third part is 5 new chapters, catching you up to my understandings at that time in 2013. But I'm always continuing to learn. So I had just begun I was finding interference energy, but I didn't call it that. I called it entity energy. I didn't go into much depth into it in the book yet because the new chapters were already getting deep enough and seemingly complex enough, even though the first 2 parts are very simple. And I end up with a very simple chapter at the end. But this interference energy, once we attract it, it exacerbates all negativity, not only in us, the people that have attracted it, but everybody that's in our household and everybody that's being affected. Hi, Robbie, I see you in there. I only knew, and the reason it exacerbates negativity, it involves what I call negative beings. Many in the dowsing world would call them entities, but I don't like that word because it implies demonic demons or demonic activity. That's not what that is. It depends on how you define evil. If you define evil as going against the good, that broadly, then you could say this is evil, but that means every time we do something against the good for ourselves or others, that's evil. That's a little broad, but I think that these beings that I call negative beings were actually created by the thought forms of the negative thought forms of humanity ages ago. And these negative thought forms of humanity took on existences of their own. And I call them negative beings now. And since they're created by negativity, they feed on negativity. And that's why when they are active in our homes, they exacerbate all negativity. It makes them stronger. For the most, and this is very real. I mean, this is my full-time work, and I can't even keep up with it. Because it helps people so much when you remove this energy. So what happens is these beings are just in the next dimension. You might say we share space with the astral plane and with these beings and other beings, angelic beings, and good, bad, and indifferent beings. But for the most part, they cannot affect us because they are in a different dimension. They're in the next dimension, a different world. But if somebody in the home has attracted interference energy, that opens the doorways, those vertical columns of energy that I call interference energy. I also call them doorways to the astral plane. You might call them portals. Then they have access to you. They exacerbate all negativity. Children often see these beings as scary men, scary women, scary animals. In fact, pets don't attract this energy, but they see them too often. If you've ever had a dog or a cat barking or hissing at nothing and pouncing on nothing, or afraid to go in a particular room, or a child won't go in his or her bedroom, wants to sleep anywhere else. Those are the kind of things that happen. And many of these beings can cause paranormal activity, from as mild as making tappings and rappings and tappings and noises, to actually showing themselves to people and blowing, turning lights on and off, TVs on and off, blowing electronic equipment. They can actually start making not only tappings, but bangings on the walls, even on the ceilings. They can move things. They can make things disappear and reappear. Sometimes the things never reappear. Sometimes they do. You would be amazed at the things that I've learned from my clients' experiences that all stop when I get rid of one of two things. The most common is interference energy. The second most common, you'll read about in that article I mentioned, things that go bump in the night. The second most common is earthbound spirits. They don't cause near as much problems in the home as interference energy, but almost all earthbound spirits, not all of them, but most earthbound spirits have attracted interference energy themselves, and it affects everybody in the home they're hanging around. And just their very presence causes some problems, but so when they have interference energy, it makes it worse. And if they have interference energy, it tells me they attracted it before they died, and it's likely part of the reason that they haven't moved on, and they still stuck around the astral plane. So I move earthbound spirits on too, but again, not nearly as common, and the energy problems aren't nearly as intense.
Joey, can somebody pick up this interference energy kind of when they're out in the world? Say you go to some other place or the grocery store or whatever.
It's not like people think I picked it up because I went somewhere where where entities existed. However, If you stay in a hotel or a B&B or somebody else's house where others have stayed and or still there, like if it's a house, but in a hotel, what's becoming notorious for it is hotels, B&Bs, and vacation rentals. Because you can imagine how many people are coming through those places, lying down and sleeping in beds and leaving lasting imprints that I don't know what makes their imprints go away in the normal course of life events. I know how to remove them, and you will know too with the blessing process, the process that I'm going to share with you. You can remove your energies from other places that you've stayed. You can also remove other people's energies from your home. That's how you pick it up, by leaving an imprint somewhere where interference energy is. Then it's affecting you day in and day out, and you can attract it yourself. It's not like many dowsers think that you're with somebody that has entities attached to them, and they jump on you like a parasite, or you go into a place and they jump on you like a parasite, or like a tick or something like that. And then but they can even people hear voices. When people hear voices, they're often told to do bad things. They're often told bad things about themselves and about others. If that's what's causing all the problems, it stops. I'm convinced many people are on meds, on psychiatric meds, and in mental hospitals because they have interference energy. You can imagine how much interference energy is in those places. I would say in the past couple of years, it's spreading so fast. Now, I would say, well, more than half the people I check are either have it connected to them, somebody in their home, or somebody in their home is imprinted somewhere else where interference energy is, and it's affecting the energies of the home. Since COVID, it's no longer rare. It's no longer most of the time the interference energy is connected to people from outside the home that happen to be imprinted there. Now, every single session I do, somebody, at least one person in the home has interference energy, one person living there, and almost everybody in every session is imprinted somewhere else where there's interference energy. And if you're imprinted in a hotel, for example, there could be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, or vacation rental, or more than that, even with interference energy. If you've ever been in a hospital the last few months, loaded with interference energy, and so now it's just it's the same thing every time. Somebody, and one or more people have interference energy living in the home that I'm clearing at the time, and almost everybody's imprinted somewhere else where there's interference energy because it's so rampant. Now, I want to go back to how I used to clear it. For 14 years, I only knew one way to clear it. I'd go find it at a certain place in my bathroom, because it'll always set up in the same place in the same home, even if it's connected to different people. I take my rods, I find that energy just in that vertical column of energy that I call interference energy, just inside the doorway to my hall bathroom. And I say a blessing. To basically, the gist of the blessing is to do whatever is appropriate with that energy, to bring healing and balance to everyone affected by the energy. That's the gist of the blessing. And it just disappears. Then I had more to do, usually, especially in the last couple of years. Once I removed it that'll remove it from the home and everybody in the home. But now almost everybody is imprinted somewhere else where there's interference energy. And I can tell, you're going to see how I can tell that in a few minutes. And so what I'll do is I'll follow their energy pattern back to them in a blessing, and I replace the energies in my home with the energies in any home or place that might be causing the extra imbalances in their energy patterns that I'm going to be showing you. And then I connect to that place, and I'll clear the interference energy there. And then I see if anybody still shows imbalances telling me that they're also indicating they're also imprinted somewhere else where there's interference energy. And I'd follow to that place. You can imagine after I've done that 2 or 3 times or 4 times in one session, I have no idea where I am anymore. And I'm clearing people. I have no idea who they are. And I would keep doing that until after I cleared that space, wherever I am, everybody in the home shows only normal or typical imbalances in their energy pattern. And then I call that the end of the line. But I want you to imagine something. And I tried to, at the last minute this afternoon, find a good family tree to show you. But you know how family trees look. They've made many different ways, but you are here, your wife's here, and your parents are here, and all your relatives are, let's say, either above you in the family tree or off to the side this way. And there's all these branches in the family tree of following bloodlines, right? Imagine the same thing, except you're following lines of energy connecting people to their energy patterns where there's interference energy, and to other people's energy patterns where there's interference energy. And these lines, when I do it the way I've been doing it for 14 years, I can only clear one track because I'm clearing it on the way, and I can't go back and follow all those other tracks. So what I do is I get as far as I can and do as much clearing as one time. I'm up the line, and then I would do a final blessing over my client's home and all the family. And now by now they're all back to normal in the home, but I make it even better. You can even bless electrical fields, and you're going to get a handout that will tell you not only how to bless the electrical fields to make them beneficial, and they'll stay beneficial. It'll give you an exercise you can do with other people with cell phones and demonstrate to yourself and others that it works. So now, again, for 14 years, we've been doing an average of 3 retreats a year where people come and spend 5 days and nights with us. They sleep here. We feed them home-cooked meals, delicious home-cooked meals every day. I teach in the daytime, and we just enjoy each other's company at night. And so I've taught over 40 retreats in those average 3 people a retreat. We can do no more than 8, and we don't even do that many anymore because of COVID. So we've over probably 40 retreats, an average of 3 people a retreat over that. And not one, they all learn lots of things things with dowsing and the blessing process that can help themselves and others. But not one person in 14 years had confidently learned how to find that energy and that interference energy on their own after they leave here and remove it on their own. Even though I teach them exactly what to do and how to do it, you've got to know how to find that energy, and it's invisible. And people, it takes a very competent dowser who also is very competent in my work. So after the October retreat in 2020, when I saw interference energy just ballooning in the world, many more times, millions of people, I'm convinced, if not billions, are directly or indirectly affected by interference energy. And here, I'm the only one that can do it. So after the October retreat in 2020, I thought, I have got to figure out an easier way to teach people to find and remove this energy. And immediately an idea came to me. Of course, it's given to me. And I thought, I know you have to connect to that energy to remove it, because that's the only way I'd figured out how to do it. But maybe you could connect indirectly to the energy. So remember those checkerboard and diagonal grid lines that are all made detrimental by the interference energy? I figured they must be connected to the interference energy. If I connect to one of those grid lines that are detrimental because of the interference energy, I could probably follow it to the source or cause of its imbalance. And so what I did is I I tried it. I said a blessing to follow during a session that I was doing with somebody, to follow that energy back to the source or cause of its imbalance, which we know now is interference energy, and to do whatever is appropriate with that energy that's causing this imbalance, to bring healing and balance to the complete beings of everybody in the home. And guess what? It disappeared from everybody in the home. It still left the connections to other people, other places where other people had interference energy. I still had to clear 2, 3, 4 or more other places along the one session I was doing. But I could typically do that because I understand it so well. I could typically do that in an hour, 15 minutes. And that includes talking to my clients about what's going on in their lives and why they wanted a session. So it worked. The next retreat, April of 2021, last year, all 6 people who attended were able to do it in 6 different remote house clearings that we do on the 4th day of the retreat. I finally had figured out how to teach somebody to do it, but you still had to be a dowser, and a fairly good dowser. And I knew it would work with them because almost everybody learns to find those Hartman and those checkerboard and diagonal grid lines, because all you got to do is walk towards any wall more than 6 feet, you're going to cross one. And if you ask to find a checkerboard grid line that's detrimental or out of balance, you walk anywhere towards a wall 6 feet, you're going to cross one. You walk down a hallway, you'll cross one about every 6 feet. The diagonal lines will be, you walk diagonally in your home to find them. So after that retreat, I got excited and I thought, there's so much of this in the world right now. Everybody's not going to learn to be dowsers, and I want to help everybody that I can. So I've got to figure out a way. Anybody can do this. And now is when we're going to go to the PowerPoint. I've only learned how to do, usually my PowerPoint presentations are brought up by the people conducting the presentations, but I think I've figured out how to do it. What does it say?
Should be green.
Host disabled. Can you enable my screen share?
Yes. Okay, hang on. I didn't do something right. Let's see.
This is going to be pretty important.
Okay, it should work now.
Okay, here it is right here, PowerPoint. Back in 96, this is the pattern that I happened to find. Like I said, I used to douse outside. I had a friend who was my first person that had come to me to learn to douse rather than me convincing people to learn to douse. And we just explored the energies of nature every Saturday in the spring of 96. But one day he couldn't come over and I decided to explore on my own. And for something, I don't want to go into the details, but something just caused me to say, you know what, if I'm finding all these energies outside, I should be able to find them inside. And I explored the energies in the home. I was looking for beneficial energies, what we were calling energy lays. And I found many of them. I looked all around the home and found them intersecting each other in high use areas of the home. And I wondered what that's all about. But then around every bed in my home, I found this pattern, and it was around every bed in the home and then I said, this is something that the dowsers don't know. This is one of the very first things I shared in 96 when I spoke about the first time, the same year in the fall of 96 at ASD in Vermont. It's the last slide I showed in the presentation. Back then I was with an old, overhead projector. And then I started dowsing my friends and family's beds, like I mentioned earlier, and I started finding more energies. This other one was done by me by a friend of mine who's a professional desktop designer and publisher. But the file was getting way too huge for her 3D program. So I just drew them in myself. I found two intersecting the heads of the bed, and I'd put different colors to show you the different pairs. They come in mated pairs. If you've ever heard any of my presentations, you've seen these illustrations. Okay, so that was in 96. I kept doing it. Then I started teaching full-time in 97 and I was traveling 30 times a year for 7 years in a row, many times to Houston. And I found more and more in parts of this energy, of these energy, but I kept asking, and then I would find that some people would have some of the imbalance, some of the energies would be out of balance more than others would be, or what you might call discordant, or I don't like to call it detrimental. And I kept asking myself, who could I ask? I asked myself, I asked through prayer and blessing, I asked of the universe, of the divine, help me understand what this is. What is this energy around beds? And then why is it that, let me go now, end share screen for a minute. Why is it around everybody's bed? Why do some people have imbalances why do I find imbalances around these beds, in these patterns, but I can say a blessing for healing and balance over the people that slept in the bed, even if they're not in the bed, and the energies of the bed would change. And so early on, I realized this must be imprints of the human energy pattern. But then 3 years later, I came out of a meditation that I've been doing deep relaxations and meditations, several a day now for over 40 years. And that most of my understandings come in revelations and visions. And so I was just, I don't want to go into, let's just say I had this compulsion that I was told from within, reach over and grab this, any book from the bookshelf that I had my unread bookshelf was at my headboard. How many of us have unread bookshelves? Everybody. Right, you have them if you raise your hand or not. We've all got unread books in our home. So I was told to reach over and grab any book. It was by this particular author that came through that week. He gave several talks, and I bought several of his books. But open one of his books to any page, and you'll get a message. And I opened it to happen to be the beginning of chapter 7. It's called Honey from the Rock, and by doesn't matter. Honey from the Rock is the name of the book, and it's about this helping us to understand simple, understand Kabbalistic concept, Jewish Kabbalah or mysticism, Kabbalistic concepts in simple, easy to understand ways. Just recognizing the sacredness in everyday life events is the thrust of the book. But the whole chapter seemed to be talking to me about my work. And I realized I could use quotes from the Bible, quotes from ancient Jewish sages, quotes from this author to validate what I was teaching and doing in my work. And I could even demonstrate some of these quotes, some of the things that were being written about there. And so when I thought I'd gotten my message, and I just, tears were welling up in my eyes, and I started saying a prayer of thanksgiving for sharing this knowledge with me. And then I got the real message. Now we go to the share screen again, but I got to find it. Got too many windows open. I thought, oh my gosh, I think the bed pattern is the tree of life. And I still think after 20 something, 96 to now, 26 years, I still think our human energy pattern is the human soul level of the tree of life. I don't want to go into too much about what Kabbalah says about the tree of life, but I will say this. It's supposed to be the first thing our creator put into creation, into creation before physical creation. And everything, every person, every human being, and everything in the physical world is supposed to be patterned after this pattern. And It's supposed to be within us, each of us, around each of us, and it's supposed to repeat itself endlessly in the energies of creation. And that's exactly how I find it. Now, here's a better side-by-side illustration. There's only one significant difference in these two patterns, and that's I always find my number 6 right here in the middle rather than the bottom. But I can tell we only have about a half hour left, so I want to move on through this. Now, through the years, I've learned to identify energy problems just by dowsing people's energy patterns around the beds that show up and where they show up in my home. I only draw in the imbalances or discordant energies. Almost everybody, adults anyway, and have a certain set of imbalances that are typical or normal. It's just from dealing with the stresses and strains of life. So the rectangle represents the bed. This would be the head of the bed. This would be the foot of the bed. And so the first illustration here, you see no lines drawn in. That's a child from about birth to 5 to 7 or 8 years old. As we get a little older and dealing more and more with life and learning about having issues with our family, issues with our peers is how I just surmise, we get a little bit of imbalance. And then by the time we're 12 or 13, reaching puberty age, we get the typical imbalances of an adult. It might look like basically most of the pattern is out of balance or discordant, but that's typical, that's normal. None of that has to do with energy problems. And that's what number 4 is what I want to end up every session getting to before I do the final blessing work. All 3 of these indicate imbalances caused by energy problems. Number 5 is everybody in a home that has an earthbound spirit. If the earthbound spirit does not have interference energy and nobody else does in the home, everybody else's energy patterns will be out of balance beyond the head of the bed and the head and the foot you'll see the head and foot imbalance. If somebody's affected by interference energy, but they don't have it connected to them, whether it's in their home or connected or end up somewhere they're imprinted outside of the home, the pattern imbalances will go out into the matrix like this, above, beyond the head of the bed and beyond the foot of the bed. The people that have interference energy connected to them, their energy patterns are totally out of balance or discordant out into the matrix. And you might say that their channels are so cloudy, they're not capturing the spiritual energy or God's light nearly as fully as they need to capture. Just have a good, healthy life, happy life. Now, when I came up with the idea that now I've got to find some way anybody can do this, even if they don't have no interest in dowsing, don't know anything about dowsing, I thought all they have to do is connect with their hands to any of these extra energies. But to be able to find them out beyond the bed, you'd have to be a dowser. I ruled that out right away because that wasn't my purpose and what I wanted to do. But notice here that the energy lines going across the head of the bed and the foot of the bed, that's a mated pair, are drawn in as out of balance or discordant in all 3 of these images. And so I figured just about anybody can stand at the foot of their bed and put their hand or hands just over the edge of the foot of the bed, right in that line of energy. And I tried it. My next client, I didn't tell him I was doing anything different, but the mother, it was a mother, and the mother didn't have interference energy, but the daughter did. So the mother's energy pattern looked like number 6 because the daughter had interference energy connected to her, and it looked like number 7. So I put my hands just inside the foot of the bed. I dowsed it thousands of times, so I knew exactly where to put it. It's very important to put your hands just inside over the foot of the bed, just in the right place to connect to that line. And I'm going to guide you in one blessing process how to do that. And and then now the daughter, I already determined, because I have a way to temporarily negate all the negative effect of or neutralize all the negative effect of the interference energy of the home. I already knew that the daughter was imprinted somewhere else with interference, where there others had interference energy, because after I neutralize all the negative effect of the interference energy with a blessed object, that's what I do. That's how I do it. The mother's energy pattern returned to number 4, but the daughter only went to number 6. So I figured, well, I'm going to have to, follow this pattern back like I've been telling you about. So what I did is I put my hand just inside the mother's energy pattern around my bed in my home. And I said the blessing to basically to follow this energy field back to the source of its imbalance and do whatever, which is interference energy, and do whatever is appropriate with that energy that's causing this imbalance to bring healing and balance to the complete beings of all who are affected by the energy. And the mother's pattern immediately went to number 4. And I figured, well, now I'm going to have to go to where the daughter was imprinted in the guest room. And because I'm sure I've just assumed her energy pattern would look like this, and I'd have to follow it to wherever she was imprinted and remove and clear from there. But I got a big surprise. The daughter's energy pattern had already returned to number 4 too, which meant, by definition, from my understanding, that wherever the daughter was connected with, where there was interference energy, that blessing I did at the foot of the mother's bed right here not only cleared the interference energy from her and their home, it also cleared it from all the people, any other place she was imprinted, because that's the only way to get a number 4 imbalance. So I've now completed that blessing process, and I don't think I have any more slides. Oh yeah, I do. So when you get the actual blessing process, and I'm going to tell you how to find it, you're going to put your hands just inside over the bed. Now that energy line is not a line on the bed. It's actually like an energy wall about as thick as your palm, and it passes through the bed, rising above the bed about neck and height. So you don't have to put your hands on the bed. You just put your hands just over the edge of the bed. And if that energy is out of balance and you say the blessing that I'm going to be giving you access to, it'll clear all the interference energy that's in your home, connected to anybody in your home, and anywhere anybody else is connected, it'll clear that. And I would venture to say half of you or at least have somebody in your home indirectly affected by this interference energy, and you will feel the difference when you do this blessing. Now I'm going to end the share screen. Stop share.
Joey, does this also include anyone who's ever slept in the same bed, whether they have lived in the house or not?
No. When you move beds, the pattern does not move with the bed. I learned that in Houston, by the way, because when I used to teach at the ARE Center, that I understand is no longer active there, I would get somebody to bring in a massage table for that part of the second day of the work. Later I did 3 days. But even active massage therapists that had just massaged somebody the day before, once they broke the table down and brought it to the workshop, there was no pattern around it. The pattern will stay it conforms to physical structure of the bed, but it's not attached to the bed. If you move your bed to a different part of the room, your pattern will stay where it used to be. And in time, when you sleep in the new part of the room, it'll shift over. But if there's an empty house, if you move into a new house and there's no beds there, the energy patterns of those people are still where the beds were. And in other places, you can imprint in other ways. I don't know all the ways we imprint, but we always imprint when we lie down, where we lie down on a physical structure raised off the floor.
So that's the sofa in your bed.
Okay, so now I need to turn it over to a few questions and answers, and then we're going to give you a little, some little I'm going to tell you how to find not only that blessing, but another blessing that ties in with it, how to remove your energy pattern from other places that you stay. And then I'm going to say, you're going to get a handful of blessings and articles when I tell you how to find it. So,
Okay.
and
We have a question about what about okay. We have a question. What about recliners?
If you recline back far enough, you'll imprint there. And then when the recliner sits up, when normally it won't sit up with the person, with the pattern will still be laid, the back of the top of your pattern, top energy of your pattern will still be behind the bed, behind the pattern, the recliner. But you got to go into a full reclining position. I wondered about that for years. Why do we only imprint why do we always imprint when we lie down, but we don't usually imprint when we don't? You could have a party in your home with 40 people there. And not one of those, maybe not even one of them will imprint. But if somebody lies down, even for 1 second, they'll imprint there for some lasting time. I don't know how long. And then it occurred to me, wait a minute. You don't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry, or Harriet, include the women here, every Tom, Dick, and Harriet that comes into your home, maybe to repair your appliance or to fix your air conditioner or do some plumbing or electrical work. You don't want everybody in your home to leave a lasting imprint of their energy there. And if they have problems, leave that energy with you. And nobody is going to lie down in any of our homes unless we're pretty close to them, if you think about it. And then I thought, we got a pretty smart creator. Okay, next question.
So you can take your same mattress and move houses, and the different people that have been in your bed, that energy pattern does not transfer to the new house. It's whoever, or if you have an apartment, all the people that have been there before you would be in that energetic grid. It's not about the mattress.
I have a special program for people that are moving or have recently moved. Many people call me wanting to get their new homes cleared. But I explained to them it's just as important to clear their own home and remove their energies from their old home after they move out, or then you could be affected by future occupants. Your energy pattern will stay at least for months in your old home. I don't know what makes it go on its own. I can make it disappear. You're going to have a way to do that from removing your energy pattern from other places that you've laid down recently. But I figure if I can make it happen, it must happen in a normal course of life events. So, but all I know is I can make it happen, and I can help you understand how to make it happen.
Okay, we have a question about what about the bed at the chiropractor's office?
Same thing.
Or massage, therapist.
What you would do is go ahead and enjoy your massage or the adjustment or whatever you're there to do, examination at a medical doctor's office. When you get home, you go through what I call my miracle blessing process that I've been talking about, standing at the foot of your own bed. And since we're all connected to each other, that clearing one bed will clear everybody's energies in the home. If there's, I didn't mention this though, interference energy only affects the level of the home where the pattern is or the person physically is. So if you have family members sleeping on different levels of at home, I would do this blessing at each one. Not every bed, but one bed.
Like basement, first floor, second floor, however many. Okay.
Just to be safe and make sure you get it all. I have a program for that too. You enjoy your massage, come home, so go right. If you forget for a couple of days, it's okay. You go find the blessing process. I don't encourage you to try to memorize it because you'll maybe forget something wrong, or you won't put your hands in just the right place. Read the blessing, but say it as a blessing and stress the words that are underlined, and it'll work if you have your hands in the right place. So you also, when you stay in a B&B or a hotel, you first thing you do is go to any bed in that hotel or rental, and do that blessing process. If people sleep on more than one level, you go to one bed on each level. When you get home, you do what the other blessing process that I'm going to send, you're going to have access to, removing your energy pattern from other places.
Okay, so you do wherever you're going, and when you get back, you do it again to pull your energy back.
Yeah.
To not leave an imprint anyplace else.
When you do it where you are, you're not only removing any interference energy directly or indirectly connected to that home, you're also removing other people that are imprinted in the home inappropriately at the time. But the blessing process is only meant to remove people where there are energy problems. So since you've just cleared it, you have to do, when you still do the blessing again at your own bed when you get home, but you don't, but you then also have to do a separate one to remove your own pattern from the other bed. I'm going to make an offer several offers to you at the end, and some of you might choose to get all that guidance, and I'll explain how that'll be. But I'm going to give you all these blessings for free. In fact, it's amazing how life works. When I came up with this blessing process, and I demonstrated to myself that it worked with that first client, I told my wife, Jill, I need to spread this to millions of people around the world. And I had a vision back in 1980 that I was shown and told something very practical about the business, my family business that I was running, that proved very true. I couldn't have known it at all. Something very specific I was told that proved to be true the next morning. They always do that. I call them they do that when they give me important visions, because they want to give me something they demonstrate that this is real. They also told me by the turn of the century, I will have sold the family business, and I would be dedicating myself to helping others grow spiritually and take charge of their lives. I had no idea it would be dowsing. I hadn't even learned to douse in 1980. But I also was shown that it would be some kind of broadcast media, and that I would be able, I was told years later, after the turn of the century, when the entire world would be in chaos, I would be helping people, millions of people around the world. And I was shown some kind of broadcast media. I thought it was talk radio, which hadn't even picked up at that time. It was nothing at that time, but we had one little talk radio program. Anyway, we didn't know about the internet. Now, one video could go viral, and I could reach millions of people. And so I told my wife that night, this was just last June, I said, Jill, I've got people, friends and clients that have mailing lists and that have webinars and what do you call them?
Podcast.
Top podcasts that reach tens of thousands of people every week or every month. I can get on their programs and start spreading the word. The very next day, and I just talked to the lady, she's now my partner. The very next day, a woman called me, and I had cleared her the month before and her family. And she called me, and to just tell you a little bit, as a child, she was a Bosnian refugee. And so she probably had interference energy since she was a child. She had a very difficult time in the early years. Now she's made very much a success of herself, got podcasts, got a TV show, got a radio show. She called and said, Joey, I'm so amazed at the difference. None of my family could sleep. And for years, we couldn't sleep good. And after that one session, we are all sleeping like babies every day. And she said, I want to have you on my podcast. I want to come to your retreat. I want to come for some personal training. And I said, wait a minute. I said, and this happened the next day when I told Jill that I wanted to do that, and she said, I said, well, now I've got a blessing process. You can do it. Anybody can do this. You don't even have to know anything about dowsing. And she says, I'm going to give you total access to all of she has a whole team of people that she has on her payroll that does videography. They do editing. Another person puts stuff on on all the social media sites for her. She said, I'll dedicate my team to your team. Of course, my team is me and Jill, Jill and I, Jill and me. And so now we're like partners in crime, and she's helping
Your partners in blessings.
And blessing. And we already got plans to, anyway, it's going to be coming. Hopefully everybody's going to hear about this, and you're going to say, I heard about that from Joey's.
Well, we will put this on our YouTube channel and our Facebook channel, so that'll be great.
Well, it's going to go we're going to get way beyond that. By the way, when I do this, when you get this information, I don't mind you sharing it one at a time with people you think might need it. I'm not ready to just post it online, even though I know this video is going to be online to all your members. I'd rather you not post it or share it with groups yet, because I'm still perfecting. I'm still improving it. I've got it now down to one sheet of paper. When you print it out, one side of one sheet of paper, including the instructions. And I even revised it again a little bit today. So when I'm ready, I'm going to be letting everybody know.
Okay.
And you might want to get on my mailing list if you're not on it. You will not hear a bunch of bunk from me.
People can sign up on your mailing list at dowsers.com.
Dowsers.com.
Okay.
My phone number is at dowsers.com, easy, but it's real also.
And it'll go out on the replay. We have your contact information on that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
do we do the blessing together? How does this work?
If we had time, I'm going to do a big one in July. And I'm going to have everybody stand at the foot of their own bed and do it. That's what I'm planning to do. But I don't know yet. I'll go day by day. This is a whole new venture for me. Now, but I want to tell you what I'll do for you.
Okay.
Our remote sessions now, every remote session is a mini seminar. I'll go into a little bit more. I've gone into some depth here of stuff that I don't share, in a session, but I go into more depth. I help our clients when I have a remote session. I help them understand everything I've shared with you and exactly how to do it and why it works so well, why it works, how it works, and why it works even better than the way I did it for 14 years. And I tell them I give them a maintenance program. And it takes about 60 to 75 minutes, but go through the whole thing, including at the end, them doing the blessing process. And then me making sure that it worked. So I'm first a teacher and then a doer. And so now I don't even do any clearing anymore. Oh, and I see Deandra there. See my old friends from Houston there. Probably others I might not have recognized the names. Okay. Anyway, number one, I charge $300 for that hour. I know that seems like a lot, but boy, I'm giving a lot. But if anybody wants to have a full session with me where we really explore the energies of your family and your home and wherever you're connected, we'll do that. I'll give you a $50 discount on that if you just mentioned that you saw this video. If you just want me to check your home to see if you have energy problems and to then check again, if you don't have energy problems, I'll just clear it for you anyway and make it better, because I'll clear everything. I'll remove other people's that are inappropriately connected to your home. We will not be on the phone for that. But I'll clear, bless all the electrical fields. They'll stay that way. And I'll do that for $100, which will include if I do find energy problems, and like I said, I bet you I do with at least half of you that request it. If you suspect you have an energy problem, you likely have interference energy affecting you. But I'll do that. I'll check before and after you do the blessing to confirm that it worked for you for $100, and I'll give you more guidance. We won't get on the phone for any of that, but if you choose to do that, you just call us. The number is on my website. You could put it on it's 706-733-0204. Maybe you could put it in the chat. I could probably do that too, but I'm not.
Okay, I just put your number
So
in
to
the chat.
repeat, if you want a full session with me, if you really feel like you have energy problems that you'd like to sort out with me and help you understand better, I'll give you a $50 discount. For $100, I'll check you before and after you do the blessing process and make sure it worked. Also, if you have my books, if it's the old staple book, this one is much more complete. We're there. It's still called.
Put it in front of your face. There we go. Yeah.
Dowsing.
Someone was asking, is the 2013 book up to date?
Right. Revised edition with 5 additional chapters. It'll help you understand the whole. It's got an index to all my blessings. Of course, it doesn't have this blessing in it. But I've got new blessings in there, and newer that weren't in the old. And I go into depth into my Kabbalah connection to dowsing that we've just touched on today.
Okay. Now, someone asked, can you do the blessing process remotely for like her daughter who travels extensively?
I would say send it to them, because doing remote work the way I do it, I don't encourage people to bring all that energy into their homes. I feel very safe. I've been doing it for 25 years. And I've been doing it, this method of connecting actually to the home to my home for 15 years. And I don't encourage people to dabble with that. It's
okay. So the daughter that does it needs to
share it. Now, yeah. This is how I've just learned you can do this. All you have to do to find all my blessing processes that I send to every one of my clients is Google or search with some other, it works with DuckDuckGo too. I haven't checked all of them, but you Google Joey's blessings. That's all you do. The first thing that comes at the top of the page will be my handouts. That's going to be a way. I just discovered that last week. That's going to be a way when I start really spreading it. It's so hard to purposefully get to be number one on a search. I didn't do this on purpose. It just happened, but it works. You can do it right when we're done here. But if you want me to check before and after, don't do the blessing. Don't go through the process until after you contact me for that, and I've checked for you.
Okay, wait. So let me just clarify to make sure we all understand. So if someone wants to do a remote session, that's the full Monty, and it's normally $300. So Lone Star Dowsers get a $50 discount.
And if someone you get a 90 days for a free follow-up. A follow-up is included when I check on everything again and make sure everything's okay.
Okay, with a 90-day follow-up. Okay, and then the second one is you are not. It's a remote thing. They put the request in by email or whatever, and
call. Best to call. Or send me the email.
Okay.
Send me an email with your name and address. I only need to know your name and your address, not family members.
Okay. And so that means you check, you're going to bless and check all electrical fields and the bed.
No. Okay. If I don't find any evidence of energy problems like interference energy or an earthbound spirit, I'll bless everything and make it better. But if I do find energy problems, I'll let you know what I found. And then I'll tell you to do the clearing and let me do the blessing at the foot of your bed and let me know. I know this sounds like a lot that I'm explaining, but it ought to be pretty simple. And then after you let me know, I confirm for you that it worked. If it didn't, I'll coach you a little for you to try it again. If we end up having to have a session, that's a different story, but it shouldn't. If the most important thing is to have your hand in just the right place, you can read the paper from one hand, say it as a blessing, and you want to put your hand on the instructions to where your wrist is just over the edge of the bed or the edge of the mattress, and then your palm will be in just the right place.
Okay, so all right, to recap, we can check and see if we have interfering energies.
Yeah.
But if we want you to do the $100 remote thing, then you will check. We do the clearing as you instruct on the piece of paper, and then you're going to confirm that. And then is that also blessing electrical fields?
And if you just want the blessing process and use it and you don't want me to be involved, it's fine with me. It's free. Just go through the blessing process. And I suggest you do it about once a week, maybe. No, you don't have to do it every day. Do it when you, like I said, when you stay in other places. Do it when somebody stays with you, especially if you know they have big problems in life. You do it while they're there, and you do it again after they leave, which will remove their energy pattern. Now, one more thing to close. If you have anybody in your family that's had any kind of major illness, even if they're all the way, even if they're beyond it, in other words, let's say they had cancer and they're in remission, you're going to read in Things That Go Bump in the Night, going through a health crisis is a very common way to attract that energy, the reaction to the health crisis. If you've been if anybody has been in a hotel or stayed anywhere else the last few months, especially a public place like a hotel, B&B, air rental, vacation rental, you likely are being affected by interference energy if you don't have it. If anybody has mental and emotional problems, if anybody has drug problems and been in and out of rehab in your family, or somebody very close to you, it doesn't have to be living with you. Remember, if you talk to somebody a lot on the phone, you worry about them and you think about them, you can bring their energy patterns into your home. Now, how many people can say no to all those questions? That's why it's so abundant in the earth right now.
Okay, so it's not just us, it's all the people that we are connected to and family and those that we care about. So we may be talking to somebody every day who's in crisis or is stressed out, which is most people. And then we get imprinted and then lay that on our bed, and then we're in that.
Well, no, it's more that when you're really caring about somebody and thinking about them a lot and praying for them and worried about them, you can bring their energy pattern into your home. It doesn't necessarily go to a bed. And I demonstrate that ways to make that happen in my retreats. For example, well, we don't need to go into that. It's already beyond closing time.
Lots of good information. Okay, so obviously there's more, and if you want to learn more about Joey and his miraculous blessings and teachings, then he can go to his website, and you'll see what's kind of coming up. And thank you, Michelle. She put in the chat a link you can click on directly to Joey's miracle blessing process. So is that the latest one for the interfering energies?
If it's, I don't know what she's put there. If she put that page, if she put a link to that page that she just Googled, I always have my latest blessings there.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like it was April 2022. She just Googled it, she says.
Yeah, that's it.
So, okay. So it's in the chat, everybody. You can click on that. All right. So we're gonna, you've shared all this amazing energy, and you're allowing us to access the resource of these blessings on your website. And if someone wants to have a session with you, they know how to contact you.
Right.
So
If you just do it on your own and you don't want to have a session with me, or you don't want me to check before and after, I would love to hear from you if you and your family feel a difference or not, and your pets too. You should see a difference in your pets if you're being affected by energy, by interference energy.
interesting. Or I wonder if you pet sit and have other people's pets on your bed, right, where they're
Doesn't have
sleeping.
to be on the bed. Remember, interference energy affects the entire home, and it
Okay.
gives access to these beings that can create all kind of havoc in people's lives. If there's a lot of discord in your family, or an extended family member's family, there's probably interference energy involved. If there is, it's just so common. It's very common.
Joey, thank you so much. I know we could keep going. You've
We
got a
could,
lot of great information.
we could.
Thank
And
you.
I want to say thanks for having me. Thanks for putting this together. Hello and goodbye to my old friends that I see here that we worked with before, and I know that Robbie is always interested in my latest and greatest of what's going on. You always have access to my latest blessings that I share with clients on that one page, and you can always find it by Googling Joey's blessings. That's all you got to do.
Thank you so much.
You take care.